they support the conservative value. Also, we have Leo and Dr. Jane with us here. Also, they honored us to be on the House Committee. Thank you for supporting Adam. And we have our constitutional officers, and we start by Charles Thomas. We all know him as Carlos. And we have Mike Twitty. Also, I need to let you know, when I called them, they all were more than happy to support Adam, including the sheriff. He's a big-time Adam supporter. He could not be here today, and he told me to make sure to send every one of you his regard. And also Bernie McCabe and Ken Burke. All of them are supporting Adam. And I hope I didn't forget anybody.
Leslie.
The mayor, Leslie Walker. And we have Mayor Queen was here, and he had to leave.
Bill Queen.
Bill Queen.
Bill Queen.
Is he still here?
Yeah, I think so. Bill?
No, okay. I saw him leaving, and we have Commissioner Curtis Hall from Washington. Okay, and former tax collector Diane Nelson.
Very great candidate for the House over here, Ray Blackley.
And we have All right, now I'm going to turn it to our host to introduce Adam.
I just want to welcome all of you to our home, and thank you for coming. And I'd like to introduce you to our next governor.
That is an introduction. And I know that JJ already did it, but let's give Joe and Joanne another big round of applause. It is a perfect Florida day, 95 degrees, 98% humidity. This is when the real Floridians are still here and enjoying our state. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you here, and it's an honor to have so many elected officials here. When somebody asks you to support another candidate, that's a big deal. Because you've got plenty of enemies on your own, and you don't need to hear anybody else's. And so I just want to thank all of you for being here and for your support and long-time support. Leslie and I served in the House together, but I think that their support is indicative of my approach to governing, which is that we're going to partner with local government to provide the best possible services for our taxpayers and look for efficiencies. And that's what we've done, particularly in the tax collector's office with the concealed weapons program. And it's just one example of how we've really made it more efficient, driven down costs for the taxpayer. We've lowered costs 3 times, expanded volume, and we've done it all for almost no money. I mean, for the price of a computer and a printer per office, we've gone from 8 offices to 53 offices because we've leveraged the tax collectors, and that's just one small example. Because I'm from a small business background. I'm a farmer, and you always are looking for ways to save money, to economize, to be more efficient. And I think that you can apply those principles to government. I know that everybody says that, it's become almost cliche, but that's proof that it can be done. And look, the bottom line is this: we are living in a pretty good period of time for the state of Florida. Governor Scott has brought us back from the brink of the abyss over the last 8 years. And I hope that he can bring that type of performance-based approach and results focus to Washington, because we desperately need it, because we're not getting it out of Nelson right now. So I'm really hopeful that he's going to, and I know that he's going to be successful. But the bottom line is, 8 years ago when I was running for Ag Commissioner, we were at double-digit unemployment in Florida. We were #1 in the nation for bankruptcies and foreclosures and people underwater in their mortgages. And today, all of those stats have reversed themselves. We're a magnet for job creation. Our unemployment rate's under 4%, which, I mean, I know I'm only a Gator, but I was an economics major, and 4% was taught as being full employment. And we're below that in the third most populous state. 8 years ago, when I would come to a gathering like this, or I'd do an event at a coffee shop or a barbecue restaurant, people they'd lost their job or were losing their job and losing their home. I mean, the two most promising pieces of the American dream were very much in jeopardy in people's lives in our state. Today, people are the number one complaint I hear is about traffic, congestion, that sort of bundle of issues, because people are spending too much of their life in traffic on their way to a job and on their way home that they own again, free and clear, and the cost of housing, workforce housing, and the shortage of that. But the other thing that I hear an awful lot about, and I see this in my business, is the shortage of skilled labor. Yes. That if you're an employer, it's difficult to find it. If you're building a house, it's difficult to find it. If you're looking to attract new businesses and new industries to our state, it's difficult to find it. So I hope that you've seen my ad on the importance of workforce development, because I am, from an employer standpoint and from a diversifying our economy standpoint, I am focused on that for our state. I truly believe that our education system, of which I am a product, I'm a product of our public schools. My 4 children are in our public schools. I graduated from a state university. I'm a huge supporter of our schools. But what we have done is to get them out of balance, where they're now telling 100% of our students that if they end up anywhere other than a 4-year university degree, no matter how much student debt they need to take out, no matter whether they're interested in that particular degree field, regardless of whether that degree that they're pursuing is even relevant in the job field that they want or is marketable in today's economy, we're telling 100% of them, this is the funnel that you need to find your way into. And if you fall out of that funnel and don't end up with a 4-year degree, and heaven forbid that you end up with the debt without the degree, the worst of all worlds, you're going to be a loser in life. That's what they're telling them. And I believe that's flat wrong. I think we need to educate all of our students to know what all of their options are, including being in the workforce. And that includes the traditional trades that come to mind, the construction trades, which are very much in demand in our state. But it's not just jobs like that. It's aviation, aerospace. I mean, the demands for that and what's going on in our state, not only around here, around the military, but in the Space Coast, where what Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are doing with the privatization of the space industry, in less time than it would have taken NASA to decide on the procurement language of contracts for a certain bolt. We are launching a Tesla into space. I mean, it's just extraordinary. And we've got to have the talent to fill those positions. So we see it in marine. We're the state that's the fishing capital of the world. We ought to build more boats here. We're the cradle of the space industry. We need to be the leaders in the innovation for the next generation of innovation and technology for the next giant leap for mankind. But to do that, we've got to produce the workforce. And we have to destigmatize that as a viable career path. And none of these guidance counselors are telling these kids what they could earn in these jobs. 2 weeks ago, I was with a 19-year-old. He graduated from high school 1 year ago. He's a welder in Southwest Florida. He's making $80,000 a year. And that's before overtime. Ring power. Average wages, $55,000 before overtime. And they can't fill all the positions they have. Wall Street Journal had a great article about 3 weeks ago about the greatest rise in income is going to come from individuals who have more than a high school degree and something less than a traditional 4-year university degree. Now, make no mistake, I'm not pitting universities against state colleges. I'm saying state colleges have been treated like a redheaded stepchild for the last 4 years, and that has to stop. We need great world-class research universities in the 3rd largest state, but we also need to be training all of our students for all the options that are